Spacebird Media.
Why do so many people find solace in the crackle of a vinyl record? Let's dive in. This isn't just another vinyl podcast, it's a journey into the heart of recovery, through the universal language of music. Each week we share powerful stories of overcoming addiction and life's toughest challenges. Together, we'll uncover how the warmth of vinyl can guide us through moments of vulnerability and strength. So, drop the needle, lean in, and let the music heal. Let's get started.
This is Records in Recovery.
And welcome to another edition of Records and Recovery. I'm Ace McKay, always loving it when we get to just simply talk music. So grab a brew, grab a tea, grab whatever you need. It's going to be a great conversation because today we get to talk about the music that's influenced us, the ones that have helped us through those angsty moments, or just even when you're an artist, getting to write your heart and then connecting with people who then also love your music because it says the very thing they're feeling. So this week from Velvet Midnight Records, Aaron and Aria join us. How you guys doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
We're good. How are you?
I'm great. So first, you guys are newly wed. Like this is like newlywed phase, right?
Yeah, we're a little over a year now. So,
yeah. Well, 2 years still count in my book, so I'll give you that. So definitely. So I'm just going to start there. So tell me the love story. How did you guys meet? Was it music that started the two of you?
No.
No, it wasn't actually.
Actually, we didn't find out that we both were like very avid music lovers until, I don't know, what was it, like 4 years after we met.
Wow.
Yeah, so
he was my boss.
I originally was her boss.
That makes sense.
In San Antonio.
Now I'm
yeah.
Right. Of course.
Yeah.
Switched.
So
just kidding.
So I was her manager. We worked together for an airline in San Antonio, and she transferred into the station a few months after I did, and I mean we were just worked together. It was fully, it was
very professional.
Yeah.
We were both previously married.
Okay.
And we had, I have 3 children from my previous marriage, and he's got 1. So we're a blended family now. But we had a very professional working relationship, and I always looked up to him as a manager. And I knew that he was someone I wanted to keep in contact with on a professional level because I could ask him questions. He was very much a mentor. Yeah. And to this day, I still very much look up to him professionally and will ask his opinion on a lot of things. And he's got really good advice most of the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what was that connection once you realized that you both had talent, that you both were, singer-songwriter, however it works? Like, what was that connection? Was it over an artist or it just came up?
So... because I wanted to keep in contact with him. We followed each other on social media. I was going through a divorce, and coincidentally, he was at the same time, not related. He was in another city. But I posted a video of me playing and singing, and he commented, and he goes, "I had no idea you did music this whole time. Like, we could have been making music together."
Yeah.
And
just, always looking for people to work with. My main thing, I was a producer first before I really stepped into the artist role.
Yeah.
Just making beats for people. I learned to engineer kind of on myself, on my own music. And then, so I was like, this would be awesome to be able to, work in the studio or do something, make some music. And we just kind of connected over time a little bit, stayed in contact, and then it was still months later when we actually went to a Texas Rangers game. Neither of us even likes baseball.
It's crazy.
We, we have two boys that are, 2 years apart in age. So we were like, let's do something because they're in the city. They don't really know a whole lot of other kids. So maybe they can be friends. And
it's so funny because before we went to that baseball game, my mom asked me, she goes, "Is this someone that you are considering dating?" And I said, "Oh, absolutely not. He is just a friend. He's
famous last
it's
words,
just about
right?
the kids." Yeah. And then that night he came to my mom's birthday party and met my whole family. And then the next week we were like officially dating, and it just, you know,
Very fast.
the rest
Did
is
very
history.
quickly. Yeah.
See, and that's crazy for me because like my wife and I, she's a singer as well, and like music was almost the very first conversation just because it's so embedded into me. Like I knew I could not pursue a relationship with someone and get married because this is our third marriage. So I was like, I am not going down a road with someone who's not at least passionate about music. Then to find out that she's a performer and has, I would say she has an amazing voice, even if she wasn't my wife. Now I can say she has the best voice, so it works well. But
I'm
it's
with
that.
you on that one.
But tell me too, like that collaboration, because I know for my wife and I, it is a very intimate thing. Like when she and I are in the studio or sitting at the piano bench, either singing or writing something, like it's so intimate. Like it brings us together. Tell me a little bit about that process for you guys.
Very much so.
So, I mean, we definitely work well together, I think, for the most part.
But we do
Both.
that because we work together professionally.
Mhm.
And so that's probably why the music thing didn't come up, because we were talking about work and running business in
Airline
airline,
operation,
Yeah.
which is crazy and hectic. And you know, you just talk about that. And outside of work, we didn't really hang out. So
Yeah, we didn't have a whole lot of contact outside of work when we first met, but once we went to that baseball game and started hanging out, she was still working in Corpus Christi and I was in Dallas at that point, so a few hours apart, but we both had flight benefits, so we'd go back and forth a little bit.
yeah.
But yeah, that time in the studio, it really started out with like, hey, I want to hear you sing, I want to do these covers, and she was like, okay, well, yeah, let's find one. So I went and pulled up a karaoke version of what was the first one, Before He Cheats, maybe.
Yeah.
She did that. I mean, she won. Was it Cali Star
It's crazy
Search or
because when I was I this is my third marriage also. And I always wanted someone that was into music.
Yeah.
And my previous two marriages, they didn't appreciate it, they didn't understand it. They were like, "Oh, that's nice," but I felt like he could really connect with me on that level, and it's something I was very passionate about. When I was younger, 16, I opened for Chris Brown, and then I also tied for first place in the California Star Search competition, and I was really making moves with music as much as you could back then. I don't want to share my age, show my age,
All right.
but the
We're
music
all
industry,
ageless, yes.
the music industry has definitely transitioned a lot
she was on
since.
set to be a teen pop star for
Yeah,
sure.
I was,
She was set up for success for that.
and I ended up getting pregnant, and in my senior year of high school, and I chose to have her and raise her, and I don't regret that decision at all. But
Sure.
I did have to put music on the back burner a little bit, a lot of it, and focus on raising my daughter now and trying to be a wife at 18, and struggled with that a lot because music was my everything.
Yeah.
That is what made me feel good about myself, and it shifted really quickly, and I lost it. I kind of lost it. And then let's see, about 4 years after that, my previous manager was working with an artist who had trouble writing music, but she had a great story. Her dad went to Iraq and actually, unfortunately, passed away there in combat. And he always wanted her to sing, and she would not sing in front of anybody
Wow.
until after he passed, and that is what made her pursue this career. So my manager reached out to me and asked if I could give her one of the songs that I've written, and to kind of jumpstart
Sure.
her originals.
Yeah.
And I did. And I had said no to a few people previously, but her I connected with, and I really empathized with her story and her heart, and I wanted to do that. And then after getting that relationship developed, I wrote a song called Daughter of American Hero, which was featured on a Ford commercial also. And it's basically just listening to her story. I just kind of put that into a song, which helped her kind of grieve that, she had never really talked about the process with her dad. And I was very moved and humbled to be able to help her heal through that song and through her father's passing, and get to tell her story for the first time, and start to openly talk about it and all the hurt that she felt. And we went to Nashville to record it, with Carrie Underwood's band, and
Nice.
we had a Grammy winning engineer the song, and it was amazing to hear my piano acoustic little version come to full
Yeah.
blown, you
The
know.
life.
Yeah, I remember to this day the
Like
first time I
spikes
heard
on
it.
Memorial Day, that type of thing.
It was
Hmm.
Still.
crazy. I was just, very, very humbled that it was able to move. And it does move a lot of people that hear it, especially if they have, service members, in their family, and all of that, or passionate, patriotic.
Yeah.
But I still had my daughter who was young, so I couldn't devote all my time to music. But prior to going to Nashville to record this, I was on such a high. I was like, oh, this is what I miss. This is my passion. It makes me so happy. It gives me purpose. So I went and I got a tattoo, and I am a wimp. I hate needles. I
Right.
hate, why would anybody hurt themselves on purpose? But,
I don't know.
I,
I can't see any way.
so
So I was gonna say, I was like, I don't know if he's gonna agree with you on that one.
I
I saw
got,
the
you know what? I went and I got a tattoo, and it is a music note with wings on it. It's not the best tattoo, but the person who did it broke up with his girlfriend that day, and I swear every time he said her name, that needle went deeper and deeper. I've kind of been like a little, but I got the tattoo to remind me how much music meant to me, and the music with the wings is let my music take flight,
Yeah.
even if I'm not going to be an artist, because at first I was just wanting to be a writer, a
Sure.
composer. I wanted to make sure I always remembered every time I looked in the mirror how much joy and how much purpose it brought into my life. So whenever I lost it again, or if I lost that feeling, I could look at that tattoo and remember, like, hey, if you're in a bad place mentally, whatever the case is,
Yep.
remember that's part of you, and always go back to that. Find time for that. So obviously, I got married, had more kids, and I kind of lost that whole music. I would do it kind of, when I could. But then here he comes in,
Hmm.
and has a whole blown studio in his
I was
house,
like, yeah, we got the
and
home
he's a
studio set
producer,
up.
Perfect.
and he pushed me to, like, no, you're gonna get in there, you're gonna record, you're gonna let's this is amazing, let's do this, let's get all your originals that I had on my iPhone produced, and
I think that very first day when we did that first cover, you sang it, and I was like, that was really good. Like Before You Cheats, like that was the song that she can get on stage and
Yeah.
she could sing that in her sleep, and sound incredible on it. That's your one of your key songs for sure that you can always blow people away with. And so I was like, hey, go back in there, and now I'm gonna have you do a harmony track. She's like, well, like I don't know how that sounds. I've never done a harmony track to it. I've only just done this live. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
go back in there. I know you can. Like I can hear your range in there. Like go in there and do it.
yeah,
And she did, and she came out, and it sounded really great. And we were like, like
he just
this could be cool.
he ignited that passion back inside of me, and then he was always on the production end of things.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I've always wanted to sing a duet with someone. Sing a duet with me.
We did
And
duet covers.
just like, oh my gosh, he can stay on key and he sounds good.
Nice.
And this is like we could be a good duet,
Yeah.
group. And this is what I've always wanted. This is what I prayed for. You know, this is what I've always wanted for myself, is a partner like that who can relate to me in that musical aspect. And, my mom, I come from a very musical family. And my mom was just, and my grandmother, everybody actually, was just so happy because they know how much music meant to me, that I had found someone I could share that with.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that pushed me and encouraged me to do that. And so in that aspect, it's very healing. You know, it's your person when they can bring you back to what genuinely set your heart on fire,
Sure.
and push you to do that.
Yeah, hanging out this week with Aaron and Aria as we continue Records and Recovery. So, as you talk about using your own music to help people heal through seasons of their life, what has been a song or an artist for either of you, either as a collection or individually, that touched you at a time that you were hurting the most?
I don't know.
You can go.
I think for me, one of them just over time that has been someone that I took a lot of inspiration from as well as just through healing time. He's an artist called Black Bear. That's one that has always been a big one for me. He's a writer. I think what got him famous, he wrote the song Boyfriend by Justin Bieber,
Yep.
but he worked with Mike Posner a lot. Um, I've been a huge fan of his for a long time and just the range of emotions, I connected with him a lot on that emotional level and just, wow, like this, I feel this song. It means a lot of going through hard times when it comes to anything, breakups, whether it's that or, just life in general, getting through things. That's one person for me.
I don't feel like I have one specific artist. It's more songs that have got me through a lot. There's Just Feel Better by Steven Tyler. Anytime I am going through a rough time, and music has a way of, there's a reason why people have motivation playlists. There's a reason why they have spiritual playlists. There's a reason why, music evokes so much emotion
Puts
to
you
the
in a
point,
mindset.
where I'm telling my 16-year-old daughter, hey, make sure the music you're listening to a variety. Don't just listen to all depressing music. Don't just listen to all, have some variety in there because
Very dark and listen to
yeah,
sad things
it
like
evokes emotion.
Yep.
And so I think depending on what you're going through, if it's a breakup, if it is a mental struggle within yourself, if it's a confidence issue, if you're happy, if you're in a great relationship now, there's songs for each of them. But I know that has got me a song that's got me through hard times is Just Feel Better by Steven Tyler. And as far as the inspiration goes, from the time I was young, Christina Aguilera, lip syncing in my room, just trying to get those vocals down, which I still have not. I probably won't
That's some
ever.
big shoes to fill. Like that's
yeah,
aspiration
that
for sure.
But I definitely really looked up to her as an artist, still do. I think she's incredibly talented. So
Yeah. So outside of necessarily healing songs, who were those early artists as you were, like for me, I always like to say, bands like Journey and Van Halen, they were the ones that made me want to play music. And then the singer-songwriter thing just kind of came naturally as I learned to kind of deal with my own therapy. So who was it for you that maybe was that, spark of, oh man, I want to learn how to play that song?
Well, I think for me, that started in high school. She and I had very different musical upbringings. I did like not even a whole year of piano lessons when I was young, like maybe 8 or 9. And I quit as I was an ADHD kid. I mean, I'm still an ADHD kid, just a little bigger, but
Right.
but I couldn't keep up with it. I never learned to read music. I played by ear my whole life and still do to this day. And I think when I got to high school, I was like, I want to learn to play guitar. So I taught myself to play
he's
acoustic
incredible.
guitar. I'm not that. I can get by on most instruments. I'm not great at any one.
Yeah.
But enough to put on a track. And so I started just writing, songs when I was in high school on guitar, plucking strings. I remember like when I finally learned to play the F chord, those bar chords, and I was like, oh, like this one sounds. I like wrote a song right then and there just because I heard a new melody that I hadn't been able to play before.
Sure.
And just sparking emotion as I'm growing and developing. So during that time, I definitely listened to a lot of like acoustic music, more stripped down stuff like Ben Rector, just a lot of the Matt Nathanson stuff like that. Plus, I was doing stuff in youth group as well, so a lot of the modern Christian music that is there.
Yeah.
that was when Elevation Music was starting to make their own music, stuff like that. So
There's a slight differential in music for us because I am 6 years older. And so like sometimes they'll say, "Oh, I listened to that in high school," and I'm like, "Oh gosh, high school."
Right.
Oh. But
yeah, I remember this song
yeah.
came out. I was in middle school. She's like, "What?" Like I was driving. I was.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But but
She's been
I
playing piano since she was
yeah, I started taking when I was 5. And my
classically
mom did
trained.
not let me quit. She was a piano teacher. Actually, she would be on the other side of the house saying, "You're using the wrong fingering. That's not how you play." And I was like, "How can
Wow.
you hear my fingers from over there?"
Right.
And, I 45 minutes a day. And I'm grateful that she did that because
Hmm.
it's how I communicate. It's how I express myself.
Yep.
When words fail, music speaks. And
Hmm.
that is, my diary. Um, and I I play um, classically, and because my mom was a teacher, my grandmother was a professional opera singer. Just a lot of classically, and I was classically trained vocally as well
Hmm.
first, and so my mom. It was a love-hate relationship with piano when I was younger because
Yeah.
I had to play all these classical pieces. And, none of my friends wanted to hear those. They wanted to hear what was on the radio. I was like, I
Of
want to play
course.
the good stuff. Let me play the good stuff. And my mom, the fingering thing with the classical, that drove me nuts. And I was like, why does it matter if I'm playing all the right notes? You know what? I'm going to make my own music so I can write my own rules. And
Hmm.
you can't tell me I'm
You
using the
can't tell
wrong
me I'm using
fingers.
the wrong hand or
Right.
the wrong finger or
And
play it how I
so,
want to.
yeah, I learned to write then from a very young age. I think I wrote my first song when I was 8. Um, I wrote the song that actually picked up the girl that I was talking about
Hmm.
previously, who took one of my originals. I wrote that when I was 13.
Oh, wow.
Recorded my first EP when I was 14. Um, and to this day, those songs are still, I love those songs.
Sure.
And I
They're
just,
still up there for the world.
yeah,
Still a few CDs around the house
Well, they're
too.
your
I'll pull
babies,
one out
right?
and like place it
Yeah.
somewhere.
they
Yeah,
are. They are. And I listened to them and I
Yeah.
remember what I was going through at the time. And it is literally my diary. It's my way of communicating, my
Mm.
way of, um, making my own rules and telling people how I feel.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel heard and help others heal too.
We're hanging out. It's Records in Recovery, talking with Aaron and Aria this week. What would you say is maybe that artist or vibe that challenges you? Because, like, I know for me as a songwriter, like, I'll hear a song and I'll go, oh, you can say that, or you can be that transparent, and then you're just like, give me a pen. I'm writing a song.
yeah.
And it just and sometimes like there's even moments where I don't know if you guys have this where you say something and you're like, can I get away with that? Because it's not just in what you're saying about your story, but what you're doing to say about someone else's story, because that's the great thing about songs, right? We give people the right to feel what they feel and to say what they can't say or maybe are afraid to say, but it's every beat, it's every lyric, it's every teardrop, all those things come together. Is there something that
Absolutely.
challenges you when you go into songs, or is it just, hey, I got an idea, and then you just sit down together and it just comes out?
Oh,
Uh, it kind of depends. We aren't great at sitting down and writing in the same room necessarily. We have
mm.
different writing styles. A lot of times,
We'll use the
the
Notes app
the
on the
yeah.
iPhone, and I
Same.
have to do it separately.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have tons and tons and tons of songs just sitting in Notes app in collaborative notes
Yeah.
and stuff like that. We have done it before where we've, done songs same day, sat down and, within a little bit of time, like, hey, I wrote this little thing here, let's record that, and then you can work on writing something and I'll finish doing this part.
Yeah.
But
I'm still
for
working on
her,
co-writing. For me, I have to sit at the piano and play and do the words at the same time.
Mm.
it's
I
pretty amazing. I
the
can't do it that
words,
way.
Yeah.
the lyrics dictate the chords I'm going to use, the speed of the song. And so as I am thinking of the lyrics, I just put it to music and I don't know how to do it separately, and I'm really trying to work on that.
Well, and there's
so-
no
Have a few
right or
times.
there's not really a right or
Yeah.
wrong way to write a song. Like you write the way that you need to write, right? You got to get
Yeah,
it
but
out the way get it out.
The co-writing though is like something I've always wanted to do and something I think is great and very beneficial. And so I'm really he's helped me a lot with that. And I'm
And a lot of
working
times
on it.
it's just tweaks and hey, what
Yeah.
if you tried this, or what if I think this phrase sounds a little rushed, what if we try something like this? And we get in the same mindset on the same level to where we can work together to actually like come up with something
One of the very first songs that
that's what I
we
was about to
did.
talk
Oh,
about.
he wrote a song about his ex-wife. And it was about heartbreak and how she hurt him and all of this stuff. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And he asked me to write a verse on it.
Yeah, it was pretty early on, but that was from a point of like, hey, like we're doing music together now, like we should do something.
Yeah.
Would you want to write? I could hear you doing something on this, and I wrote my kind of backstory with music and how it really came to be. I did the playing guitar and stuff in high school, wrote some songs, but I didn't stick with it until I got to college and got FL Studio for the first time. My friend had like a torrented version of it. I was like, I want to try that. So I just started messing with it, making beats. And really the production part of it was what I did for years, just making beats for people to rap on. We'd have friends come over and, friends that made music and like, hey, let me put some beats on and you guys can freestyle, stuff like that. But,
So
when I got to, my ex-wife and I were separated and I started writing music again, a lot more just to process emotion, going through that time and kind of being almost isolated. Had moved to a city not too long before that. And like, I didn't have a whole lot of people around me. So I turned to music and, I had wanted to step up my production side to be able to do engineering too. And I didn't really have anyone to work with. So I was like, you know what? I've written these songs. Let me just like learn. I taught myself to engineer through my own music. So that's kind of where that song came from. It was an early one that I had written, made a beat for, actually, wrote a hook originally for someone else. And then like, I realized, oh, this song applies to me a lot more now than it did before.
Yep.
There was like the main line is, where were you when I needed you? So it was, she was like, you want me to write a verse that you wrote about someone else? And I was like,
it was so
not like
challenging
that,
for
but-
me because music for me is like my diary. It's so emotional, and I know it is for him too. But I was like, okay, I really have to like be mature here and like really think like an artist and a composer. And you're really pushing me outside my box, but I'm gonna do it. And ironically enough, it is probably one of my favorite songs that we've done, and one of my favorite verses that I've ever written, vocally and lyrically.
Yeah.
It ended up being great, and so now, I listen to that song that he wrote about his ex-wife all the time, and I'm jamming out to it, and
But it was more so I knew that she could relate to that, having a similar story and, not necessarily the same things that we went through by any means, but just similar circumstances, going through heartbreak, going through having kids with someone else, being married, and then, a major life change to where, things happen. So it was kind of like
growing.
a song that you express pain through, and it's powerful, but that ended up being our very first actual release for an original together
as musicians, and as a partnership. That was our first really like co-written song, I guess, that was really, really good, and we were like, wow, we could really do something here. And so we're like, let's Aaron and Aria.
Well, and
just had a good ring to it.
Yeah, it's like in your marriage, you're learning to trust each other and create that what my wife and I call our sanctuary. And so when you're writing music, it's very much the same because there's all the emotions. And I don't know if you guys do this, but it's like, are you writing this song about me? Is this verse about me?
Yes,
there's a little bit of that going on, right? Aaron and Aria have been our guests this week on Records and Recovery. Thank you guys so much. Of course, streaming on all platforms. And where can they find you on the web?
On the web, I mean, just under Aaron and Aria for any of the streaming platforms, YouTube, I think as well. Same, just Aaron and Aria with the and spelled out instead of the ampersand.
I'm sorry. I just noticed you're wearing a Grace Potter shirt, and I love her.
Seen her a million times.
She was a big inspiration for me too. Oh my gosh, I love her. She has a song, That Phone. Oh my gosh, I did sing that. I can't believe I didn't even mention her. I love her.
She's
I just
fantastic.
saw the name and I was
oh,
that's
a whole nother. We could have a whole show on Grace Potter. Trust me.
Oh, we could. I invite me back for that one.
Absolutely. Thanks you guys for your time.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Records and Recovery is a Spacebird Media production and a part of the Thesis Radio Network. Find more episodes anywhere you listen to podcasts or at thesis.com.